Go.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Blosser. I'm the owner of Pear Tree, and I'm here with Caryn Duncan, who is the Artist of the Month for May, which is April showers bring May flowers. So all of her paintings are of flowers, but we'll get to those in a minute. First, I have a couple questions for you, if you don't mind.
Sure, Jennifer.
One of the words I would use to describe your work is inspirational. What is your inspiration?
My inspiration really comes from a place within myself. I love nature and flowers, obviously. With my work here, it kind of fit in perfectly with the show coming up. But it really is from a creative place that I would say would come from more of like a space with God. I'm not super religious, but I really do have a spiritual connection to what I do. I feel like it's part of what the work is about. It's about inspiration, exactly how you stated, that I look for the most beautiful things I see in the world and try to kind of portray my vision of that in hopes that other people will see that kind of beauty and want to feel better and feel good and happy. Therefore, that's why I use bright colors, inspirational words, and things that I love.
I do think that people immediately see a piece and are drawn to it, and you know, it immediately speaks to them, and they have to have it. You know, I've seen that reaction.
That's part of the fun of it, is that everybody has their own individual favorites, and when I get to hear who has what favorite, it's just so interesting. Even within my closest friends and family, when somebody comes up and says, "Oh, that's my favorite." Like recently, my daughter said a piece of it that I created way back when in my undergraduate program in the 1980s. She said, "This is my favorite piece," and it's been hanging in our home for years, and I had never known that. So it's really fun and inspirational for me too, to know that that's how it resonates with people.
Yep, good. So you talk about that you've painted in your undergraduate. Have you always considered yourself an artist? And when did you realize your true potential?
Well, I've always considered myself creative. The artist part, it's a little bit tricky. Labels in general, I've always tended to not want to label things, but we do. We label things. And I guess it was really in my 30s, I decided that, yep, I've done so much of it that I am an artist, and it's part of who I am. So that kind of was the transitional period. And when people are like, "Oh, what do you do?" I do lots of different things, but definitely art is a major part of my life. So it's really who I am.
That's great. And so you, in your undergrad or your grad, have you had any formal training, and did you go to school to study art?
Well, I did go to school to study art. My undergraduate is in fine art, and I always liked drawing and painting and design too, really working with patterns and colors. I always kind of called it elaborate doodling when I was younger, but I've had the training, but what I've learned is it really takes personal dedication. You can have great teachers, but unless you're invested in it, that's really the development of your own personal style. It took me a long time because I have studied, fine art, and then I got a graduate degree in art education. What I was supposed to be doing with it. I used to think, what do people want? So then I'm like, well, I know how to do all these different things, but it wasn't really until I started to think about, like, well, what's really important to me, that I really developed my style. And those things would be my faith, my family, friends, nature, and my own well-being, my really good sense of this is how I want to live, and be positive. So that's really
So if have you ever had a job that did not involve painting?
I absolutely do have jobs, and even the job that I'm doing now as a small business owner, lots of tasks that come with that don't involve painting. Some of my jobs, like when I graduated from my undergraduate work, I was a makeup artist, and then I went into retail management, and then as a substitute teacher, and then as special education. But what I've learned is all those things combined together, that's what makes doing what I'm doing now as a small business owner. It's still not easy, but I have all those different things interwoven together, so it fits, and it's so helpful.
So let's talk about your art studio. It is here in Dover.
It is here in Dover.
Down on Washington Mills. And how long have you been teaching?
Well, I started teaching privately when my daughter was really young, I think about 3 years old, and now she's 18. So I've been doing it for quite some time. When I went back to get my master's degree, that's when I was teaching in the public schools, and as part of my degree I had to do a year-long internship, half the year in high school, half the year in elementary school. And I thought I was going to be really drawn working with the younger kids, but I really liked the high school. But with what was going on with my life, I just decided to open up my own business. And now primarily I teach to ages 5 to 14, and I offer small group classes. What I found was so challenging with public school education is, especially with young kids, it's all kind of cut and paste, like this is what we're doing today. Whereas with my studio, the kids really need to think. They need to really have a good understanding what's important to them. It's a foundation in drawing, so they always start with sketches, and from there they kind of get to choose what do they want to explore with for different mediums. Obviously I paint, so a lot of the kids do choose to then go into canvas painting.
Yes, I have quite a few different patterns of a crab on my office wall. Have you always lived in Dover?
I haven't always lived in Dover. I grew up in Western Massachusetts. That's where I went for my undergraduate degree. I moved up here in 2001, and so I spent some time on the seacoast and actually moved up to Portland, Maine for a year, but knew I wanted to go back and get my master's. And when I was applying to UNH, that's when I moved to Dover. So that was 2003.
Wow. Okay. What do you enjoy most about working with children?
Working with children is fantastic. I feel like I learn as much as I teach. I think really it's their sense of hope, and they're really, really looking into the world to see what's important and what they like and what they don't like, and they're so clear on that. It's not so much like trying to please, it's just about doing something. And sometimes when it doesn't come out, they'll get a little bit frustrated, but they can then just move on, especially if you kind of guide them to just be like, okay, so this is just paint and paper, or we can do it again, we can try again. So I love that attitude, because so much in life you do have to kind of keep figuring it out as you go. At least I know that's been true for my life, and I think it's true for many people's lives.
And I think that's when they learn it too, that that big coloring outside the line can be the end all be all sometimes, and to really be able to wheel them back in and say another way of doing it is this, or maybe put a flower here to compensate for being out.
It's true, and I also try to let them know it's just like anything else, like with math or with music. You're not always going to get it on the first try. Like, no, it's a learning process. It really is a process, and it really depends upon how much you want to keep working with it. So it really is great to be able to have a little bit of influence and share with them, what's worked for myself, and then also hopefully give them something to build on for their futures, be it art or anything they choose to do.
Do you offer any adult classes?
I do offer adult classes. Not quite as frequently as I do children's classes, but I do occasionally offer like one-day workshops. I do offer a series of weekly classes that meet for a shorter period of time. This May I have a 4-week series coming up, and it's about painting and flowers. It's called Spring in Full Bloom.
Nice. And is there still space in it?
There's still space in it, yeah.
All right.
And then I also offer individual private classes with adults.
Okay. So after so many years as a small business owner, how do you maintain a sense of community?
Well, Working in the old mill building, that's kind of an interesting blend of people, and definitely getting out and about, trying to touch base about what else is going on in the area really helps, because I can get into the studio and it's kind of like my own little happy bubble sometimes, because I'm there either painting or I'm working with the kids. But you definitely need to get out and kind of touch base and figure out what people are doing and what's going on and how trends are changing. So I really try to keep that personal connection with people, and that feels good.
And doing things such as being the artist of the month.
Sure, right.
If you had to come up with 3 reasons to shop local, what would they be?
Well, it's always good to support what's right in our neighborhoods. I know for myself, as much as I like to travel, I want to live in an area that I feel has lots of good things to offer. And if we don't support those things, then they'll disappear. Part of it makes economic sense too. You know, I think a lot. I'm a creative thinker. I analyze things that I just don't understand how some things can be made so cheaply and then they have to get shipped so far, how that makes sense at all. And I do it myself, but I think that when you can shop locally, it's really important. And then, like you said before, just also community, like knowing what's around you and knowing people. So
great. And this is for me,
Sure.
for one experienced business owner to the new kid on the block, do you have any advice?
I do. I think you really need to follow your heart. I know when I decided to open the business, it was not planned at all. It was actually, I was bringing my daughter to her music lesson, her private, I think it was clarinet lesson, and somebody was teaching, and I was looking for a public school teaching job, and I just thought, wait a minute, I can do something different and offer something to my community. It's been a lot of work, and sometimes I think like, it would be nice to have benefits or knowing where the next paycheck is coming from, because it's not always so laid out. But you have to be dedicated. You really, and I think the only thing that comes with dedication is a real love and passion. And don't give up. You know, just kind of keep building upon what you want or your vision that you have for your business.
Great. And I do have one last question
Sure.
from my 8-year-old.
Sure.
She wants to know what your favorite color is.
Oh, well, my favorite color, you can maybe guess, blue.
Excellent.
My favorite color is blue.
Good, because I was about to tell you can't say all of them.
No, I definitely have a preference with blue.
Excellent. So if you want to just take a moment and we can go through the pieces you have for this month.
Sure.
All right, let's do that.